Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Higher Grounds podcast and today's morning minute meditation. Glad you tuned in today. And in today's hour, one of the most common things plaguing Christians nowadays is temptation. And the Bible has a lot to say about temptation. I think one of the most interesting stories about temptation ever told in the Bible was in the book of Mark when the devil tempted Jesus. And I think just quickly this morning we can pull a little something out of this chapter to help us today. And today, real quickly, I just want to look at the plan and the tactics of temptation. One of the first things you notice when reading the story about the devil tempting Jesus was the timing of his temptation. The devil didn't tempt Jesus while he was at a high point in his life. And while you will, of course, be tempted at a high point in his life, the devil likes to tempt people when they're at the lowest point in their life. And Jesus, at the time he was tempted in the book of Mark, had been fasting 4 days, 4 nights. He was physically weak, probably mentally weak. And that's when the devil likes to strike us as Christians with temptation. Although he will strike us when we're at a high point, of course. It is when we're at our lowest point that he loves to strike us back, because it is when we are at our lowest point we are most likely to give in to the temptation. Well, the next things that you saw the devil do was he challenged the authority of Jesus. He said it a couple times, I believe. He said, "If thou be the Son of God, do this or that. And if thou be the Son of God, do this." In other words, he's saying, if you're really the Son of God, prove it. It was a challenge to Jesus. It was a challenge to his authority as God. Now, Jesus didn't need to prove that to the devil, and he knew that, and he didn't do it. But many times the devil, by way of temptation, will challenge us with something, whatever it may be, whether it is how close we can get to the borderline or whatever it is. But the challenge never gives the reward it promises. I can promise you that, and you can find that in the Bible. And the last thing I want you to notice about the temptation was that the devil wouldn't give what he promised. He told Jesus that if he would fall down and worship him, that he would give him all the kingdoms of the world. Now, the kingdoms of the world weren't the devil's to give to Jesus. He couldn't have done that. He knew that, and Jesus knew that. Of course, Jesus rejected it and rebuked him with Scripture. And many times, that's what the devil does with us. That's what he always does with us. He promises us something that he cannot give us. And so often we know that he can't give it to us, yet we still fall into that temptation. So I leave you with this, my friends. Temptation will never give what it says it will, and will always take more than it says it will. Have a blessed day, my friends.